Okay, I said I'd do a comparison video, so I figured I'd just back these two next to each other and kind of snap one out for you guys. My awesome camera lady isn't here. She hasn't got off work yet, but I figured I could do this one solo. All right, the differences between a second and third gen 4Runner. All right, this might seem like I might end up beating up on the second gen a little bit, but I love that platform. Let me tell you, that is a great, solid platform. If you're gonna build a rock crawler or, you know, you're gonna have like a bona fide wheeler rig, I'd kind of recommend that one. Just for one, because it's a lot easier to slap a straight axle underneath it. You cut that stuff out and put some leaf springs under it. It's actually got a real steering box and a lot easier to adapt a straight axle under that one. If you're gonna go linking coils and all that other stuff, then, you know, if you're gonna go that far into it, you might as well get a third gen, third gen. All right, I might get this a little bit backwards because I mean I have a Tacoma and a third gen pickup over there too, so it might be a little confusing at times. I might mess it up. Second gen 4Runner, third gen 4Runner. I've got a first gen too, but it's not here right now. Otherwise I'd have her lined up. Well, actually I wouldn't. I'd have these lined up next to it because it currently doesn't have a motor in it. But all right, we'll go ahead and start with the third gen. Okay, I'm on the cons. So first con is, like I mentioned, this one having an actual steering box. This one has a rack and pinion set up underneath, which I mean that might be a pro for a lot of road drivers, whatever, having the rack and pinion. But for me, I'd kind of rather have the steering box personally, just because, you know, it seems like you're less problems with the steering box than you are a rack and pinion. Tubbs, what are you doing? Tubbs, what are you doing, little kitty? She likes to be in videos. Another downfall, which I think they had a recall on this, is these lower ball joints on these third gens and Tundras, Tacomas, all of them. They had a recall on the lower ball joints. It's kind of a weak spot. That's a lot of pressure on that little ball joint, and you get some dirt in there, it just rubs and rubs and rubs, and finally hit a bump and it pops off. You end up losing a tire, it tucks underneath, and it's just no good at all. So you kind of got to keep an eye on that, you know, jack the rig up every once in a while, give her a shake back and forth and up and down, you know, back and forth, just pretty much to check your tie rods, up and down to check your ball joints with it jacked up. Of course, you could put a jack underneath, jack it up on the freaking drop arm itself, and then sit there with a bar and kind of check for play in the ball joints themselves also, which is a good thing to do. If you have a third gen 4Runner, it's really good to stay up on that. Just which, when you keep them stock height, you don't have as many problems. It's once you do go lifting them, it seems like you put more stress on the ball joints, so you have to watch out a little bit more. Which, I mean, if I could save someone skidding down the road losing their tire, I would love that more than anything, just because I've done it, and I've had quite a few buddies who have done the same thing, just stuffing a puck in there, lift it up, and yeah, lose a freaking tire. Screws the fender up, and you end up, you know, having to replace the whole front end. While you're doing this side, you might as well do the passenger side also, so it's just kind of a pain in the butt. All right, cons. What other cons does this have? Another con is it isn't necessarily a tailgate on these. It lifts up, which I kind of parked her on a drop off here, but the whole hatch lifts up, whatever, so you don't have a tailgate with these. Whereas the third gen, it actually, the back window rolls down, and then you fold it down, you actually have a tailgate, which is pretty freaking neat. You know, just if you're sitting there hanging out, you got your stereo playing, the third gen, pretty neat for that. All right, now let's start going over some pros of the old third gen here. Pros is, I mean, the motor. Here in 1995 and a half, whatever, they went to the 3.4 instead of the 3-liter V6, or the 2.7 3RZ instead of the 22RE 2.4, which both of those motors, in the 2.7 and 3.4, are quite a significant upgrade compared to the two previous. Which, I mean, these 3-liters, they're kind of hit or miss. I mean, you'll see some go for freaking ever. I'm sure you guys have heard me say this a few times. Some go forever, no problems at all, but it seems like a lot of them you end up losing a head gasket or having other problems. Like I actually bought a pickup a long time ago, went through, had the head gaskets replaced, did the timing belt, timing Timing belt, water pump, a bunch of new seals all through it. We had to put a bunch of money into the 3 liter, whatever, just to drive it up in the hills, and I threw a rod in it. I had another one I ended up blowing up to. The oil pump quit working and ended up seizing the motor. So, I mean, I haven't had the greatest of luck with those 3 liters. Hence the old 3-4 swapped 3rd gen over there. But, all right, the 3.0 and the 3.4 both are 0 interference motors. So when you do lose a timing belt, you aren't going to throw your valves into your pistons or anything like that, which is freaking awesome, because the timing belt is a wear item. Toyota suggests you change them at around 93,000 miles, I do believe, which, you know, they'll, in reality, I've seen them go unchanged for, I think it was around 260,000 miles before the timing belt actually went. And then when it did go, it just, like I said, it just throw another timing belt and do the water pump while you're in there, you know. Water pump, timing belt, and it won't mess the motor up at all. You'll just end up throwing that timing belt on. It'll kick back over. You'll be back in business, which is awesome on both of these motors. These blocks are actually really similar. I have heard before that they are the same blocks, just the 3.4 has designed heads by Yamaha. Yamaha helped design the heads on the 3.4, which is pretty cool. Yamaha, they've done quite a few neat motors, like the Ford SHO Taurus, whatever. Those are pretty sweet freaking motors. Yamaha designed those. So there is that. This one has a lot more safety features. I mean, it's got 2 airbags up front, 4 anti-lock brakes, I believe, all the way around, and a little more room inside, which is awesome. So it's safer. This 3.4 gets better fuel mileage and has more power. This right here, 3.4 liter, is 190 horsepower. But sure, that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you go from driving 150 horsepower 3 liter, it does. It's quite a bit difference. Plus, just driving back from Newport when we went to go buy that, the old lady would just, every chance she got, she'd love to blow by me, because we actually bought this rig for her to haul the dogs around, which I'll go ahead and show you guys the inside of it. It's kind of dirty because this is her dog hauler. So it's got dog hair, and you see the dinger, interior airbags, her American flag, which kind of sucks because it reflects on the windshield, and I kind of get car sick looking at it. But no, she's got the back seats down, a pad there. Of course, my sweet cooler my boss man got me, Pack Rim and Associates. Sweet, my boss is freaking awesome. But I mean, it's a really nice rig. You push the button to go into 4-wheel drive. This is the limited, so it has that right there. Rear diff locker, electronic diff locker, which is freaking awesome. That right there, seeing you can get from the factory a diff locker, that right there kind of takes the cake for me. Of course, we did have to change out the front seats, got rid of those freaking junk leathers and put some cloth seats in it. She keeps the back seats down anyway, so we didn't bother changing those out. It's actually a really nice rig. It's got 180,000 miles on it, so this here, I don't worry about it too much at all. I changed the radiator on it. The radiator cracked, and changed the hoses. I actually bought another 4Runner with a blown head gasket, which I think the radiator went out on it, and then the girl drove it and ended up blowing the head gasket. Because usually when you blow a head gasket, there is usually a problem that causes you to blow a head gasket, which on those 3 liters, the problem is the exhaust is too close to the head, so it'll actually mess that head gasket up. In a lot of cases, there's other cases too. So I've done a little bit of work to it, not much for the most part. We've just changed the oil, put gas in it, and drove it. Freaking awesome rig. I feel good about her driving this instead of that 3rd gen that she did drive, just because of the safety features of this rig. And not only that, but she loves this thing. She really does. Old Parnelli Jones in her race car here. Okay, so that's the 3rd gen. Push button locker, 3.4, 190 horsepower, all the safety features. Just a great freaking rig. These are both really good rigs, which if you're watching this video, you obviously have some interest in Toyota 4Runners, so, and you probably know a little bit about them already. But let's go to the old 2nd gen. Like I said, you know, if you're building a rock crawler or something like that, this more or less is a lot easier platform to work with, just because it's been around longer. There's lots of aftermarket parts. You could slap a straight axle in it, It's just, and not only that, but to throw one of these 3.4s in a second gen is really not that hard, whatever. I mean, people do it all the freaking time. You could actually find a good deal on one that someone's already done. For the most part, you could find them for around the same price as you can with the 3-liter in it. Which once you do that, then you end up like that 3rd gen over there, just a freaking rocket ship. She goes good. All right, this one here, like I mentioned before, it's got the Torsion Suspension, which is just tougher than heck in stock platform. I mean, these, if you have little problems, you could start to feel them before you end up with a major problem like these, losing the ball joint. This one here, you know, if you have something going on, you're going to end up knowing about it before it goes bad on you. And the interior on this, I mean, it's nice interior. Little less room in this one, definitely less leg room in the back. It's by a couple inches. I mean, neither one of these are really made for big people to be hauling around. We put one seat down, just haul the dogs around in it. And buzzer. But yeah, that back window rolls down, and then that's your tailgate, which is pretty freaking awesome. I mean, just freaking awesome rigs. This one's got the automatic cup holder up here, heater, all that stuff. No push button locker. They come stock with a 15-inch wheel, which I think in 95 these came with a 15-inch wheel, but this one here is a 99, I do believe. Or, well, it has a 16-inch wheel, which those wheels there are off a Tacoma. Yeah, those came stock on a Tacoma 16s. Which those tires, I bought a different 4Runner that I got the seats out of there, and I got the tires off of, and then ended up selling it to a buddy. He's putting another motor in it and doing a 5-speed swap. But yeah, so back to the 4Runners. All right, these have a 2-link rear end, whatever. They just have these 2 bars and then coils, to where this one here has actually a 4-link and coil rear setup, and the gas tank hangs a little bit lower. And I want to say the departure angle when you drop off of stuff is a little bit lower on that than this one here. So, you know, like I said, this one is more of a beat around platform, whatever. And I want to say these are made in Japan. Those ones are made in America. Once they went to Tacoma, I do believe they started making them in America. So this is an actual Japanese built rig, which, I mean, the Japanese make tough products. They really do. They make things to last. I mean, Toyotas, they have a long history of, ever since the beginning, whatever, after World War II, when they made their first car, whatever, they made it to be a car you're gonna drive for the rest of your freaking life, and super easy to work on, parts interchangeable. It's always been Toyota's kind of go-to, which is freaking awesome. That's kind of why I am a Toyota person. Sure, I've got Ford diesel pickups, but for the most part, I am pretty partial to the old Toyotas. All right. So, you know, if you're looking for something to go beat around in the woods, I'd say you can't go wrong with one of these, you know, and stuff. If it is kind of, you're just around town, drive up in the hills, drive down the beach, stuff like that, just because you will end up with less problems suspension-wise. And, you know, it's just a basic, easy platform. The motor, though, whatever, you know, which I said you can do the conversion over to the 3.4s. These are just a lot more reliable of a motor, more horsepower, better fuel mileage. So it's kind of a pig and a poke what you want. For the most part, of course, something newer is probably going to have a little more features that are more appealing. But at the same time, if you find a good deal on one of these, you can't really go wrong. You know, and then, of course, these, which it's hard to find a good deal on these nowadays, and plus these dang Tacomas just look so freaking good. The old 3rd gen looks freaking awesome. Right now she looks pretty sad just because we haven't been driving her, and she's got green stuff on her, hood's up a little bit, and the old lady hit a deer. But that's a freaking awesome pickup. 3.4, just a freaking ripper. All right, the old 3-liter, it's a distributor motor, so it's got a cap and rotor in it, which the 3.4 has 3 coil packs. 1 coil pack runs 2 cylinders. So you know, that distributor is a little more problematic than coil packs in all reality, in my opinion, just because you get a little bit of moisture in there, whatever. I mean, I just pull it off, WD-40 it, which an old 22 RE 1st gen 4Runner I had, man, it seemed like if I went to go start that thing on a misty morning like what we have right now, whatever, I'd have to pull the cap off, WD-40, wipe it all down, put it all back on just to get the freaking rig to start. Sure, you can silicone them and do all that other stuff, but yeah. And the old 22RE, which you can get in these also, they're actually pretty prone to head gasket failures and timing chain issues. Your timing chain, which you'll hear it in the motor, your timing chain getting looser, hear it slapping around a little bit more, and it's better to catch it before it goes, because I think the 22Rs are an interference motor. Like, you can mess them up if you lose your timing chain. I have heard of people just throwing a new timing chain in them and being fine, but I do believe they are interference motors. Which, correct me if I'm wrong. If they're not, whatever, and someone knows, you know, go ahead and leave me a comment. Set me straight, just so I know, you know, and I'll be thankful. But the 22REs, they had 110 horsepower. And like I said, these 3 liters had 150 horsepower, to where the 3.4 has 190 horsepower, and then the 3RZ, which you can also get in that, is 150 horsepower, same as the 3 liter, which these 3 liters are kind of a lower compression motor than the 2.7. The 2.7 4-cylinder is a more high compression motor, so a lower compression motor, you'll have a little more bottom end torque and kind of more of a put around rig, to where those 3RZs are more of a high compression motor. Freaking, yeah, you know, there's pros and cons to everything. It's kind of what you're looking for. I just wanted to kind of lay out a video of the difference between a 2nd and 3rd gen 4Runner, and maybe one of these days when I get by that old 1st gen I've got, I'll snap out a video about it. But yeah, till then, you guys stay awesome. Thanks for watching, and hope you like my collection of Toyotas here. I've got a couple more, but they're out stashed in the bushes. And yeah, thank you for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button if you found anything I said informational, or if I was wrong in any way, you know, and you know something that I had not known before. It would be nice if you left me a comment so I would know that for future reference. Awesome. Stay beautiful.